And there he is. Perfect. Yeah, so Anthony had the bright idea of creating like a messaged index in the chat so that you can kind of search and see like the Q&A for each individual session going back in time, which is cool. And yeah, have you been have we been linking to those from the YouTube videos that we do the backup
Yes,
of? That would be
exactly.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So when you go to the YouTube videos, basically, if there's a slide deck, it's linked there. If you want to find all the questions from a specific call, I send the link that'll take you directly to where I basically index the start of the questions in that call's Q&A chat. So it'll take you right to it, and then you can see all the questions that people type. That way, we don't need to transcribe stuff or anything. It's people can just see where it was typed originally. So yeah, hopefully that'll work.
Cool. Yeah. Well, if we want to get things started, I don't know if anyone has like a topic that's really gnawing at them. I think it might be cool to follow up on what Damon was talking about in the all hands, which is just like how, as someone that's worked on a lot of these projects, he has never seen so much interest and attention to a project like this at this stage of development, and it's kind of blowing his mind. And we were trying to kind of figure out like why that is, what is it about us that like is attracting this strangely massive amount of attention. Yeah, I don't know, does anyone have any strong opinions on that? This also might be cool to hear from like some of the folks down below if you wanted to like share what made Aleo stand out to you. I see we got Nick in the audience.
Yeah.
He might have a good take on this, but
yeah, I'd be definitely interested to hear from folks who are here.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, Dennis, I know you're in the audience. I know we talked at BlizzCon, so yeah, if you want to come up. Oh, here we go. Cool, sweet. All right, just invited you, Dennis. Would love to.
Who's this?
He's a friend that I used to work with at my previous job, actually. But
oh, at Ripple?
No, this was when I was at BASF. But hey, Dennis,
definitely not Ripple. Hey guys, my name is Dennis. Yeah, I can share my my take on this question, which is obviously super subjective. I guess the reason why I'm so triggered by what's happening over at Aleo is the fact that I have to admit I'm kind of an Ethereum maximalist, and my focus has always been on the Ethereum ecosystem. And through that avenue, I also learned a lot about zero knowledge and what that will mean for the future of this industry, right? And I guess of all the projects that I know, and also all of the developments happening within the Ethereum ecosystem related to zero knowledge, I can tell that the way Aleo is built and the way it's designed, it really tries to leverage the potential of zero knowledge technology from the ground up, basically, right? Every single yeah, that's basically the reason why it makes me so excited. I do have to say, and that's I guess also a question that I hope you guys can shed some light on. I'm really struggling with forming like a thesis or like a prediction on how it will play out when I, for example, compare a platform like Aleo, which really is designed from scratch to fully leverage the potential of this technology, versus, for example, a rollup on Ethereum layer 1 that tries to do the same. I'm really curious, like in practice, how will these two solutions differ in terms of, let's say, design space, but also in terms of performance?
Alex, do you want to have first crack at that? And then I'll do my usual spiel.
Oh man, yeah. Dennis, first of all, thanks for joining. Really great to be here, or really great to have you here. And I'm sorry I missed you in Lisbon, but hopefully, you know, in a future conference, hopefully get to meet you in person, as well as anybody else here. You know, if we're ever out on the conference circuit and you guys manage to make it out, we'd love to meet you in person. Anyway, yeah. So my take on that question is, I think as you correctly point out, Aleo is not a L2 rollup on Ethereum. it's interesting because you know the architecture of Aleo with this off-chain VM, on-chain, you know, kind of data availability, it sort of looks like it. I mean, the architecture is similar to Rollup. The difference is, I guess, really like the Rollup here is plugged into our own layer one. The advantage of this over an L2 rollup on Ethereum is that you don't have necessarily the bandwidth or the bottlenecks that you would have by having to be compatible with the EVM or with the existing constraints of the Ethereum chain. So, for example, rollups on Ethereum have to use call data, right, within each block, and that effectively provides an upper bound, gives you an upper bound on how many transactions you can actually roll up in a given block. So that's one limitation. The other is, you know, for EVM, you know, it becomes a difficult problem to manage smart contract interactions or more complicated state transitions other than transfers. I mean, this is sort of like the whole point of ZK EVM, trying to bridge that gap, but it's not a very clean interface, and it's difficult. It's sort of a square peg in a round hole. Aleo, I think we very consciously took the approach to build this from the ground up and have, you know, basically a vertically integrated stack all the way down, so that at the lowest level, Snark OS or the blockchain, like the cryptographic primitives there are kind of optimized and finely tuned to support just specifically like the roll-up type architecture. So you can get an order of magnitude more transactions potentially, you know, per second than you could on Ethereum. And then also it frees people to come up with kind of new design patterns that maybe would, like I said, be awkward to try and do on a ZK rollup, where, you know, you're trying to basically port the EVM, which is an on-chain VM, into this off-chain VM world, and it can be a little bit awkward. So that all that said, I'm a huge fan of Ethereum. Aleo is not an ETH killer, not a ZK rollup on Ethereum killer. I think all those efforts are great. In fact, I do some work personally, voluntarily with Anna Rose of the ZK podcast, and I know many of those teams and the founders personally, and I think it's great, all the innovation that's happening there, and I'm very bullish on ZK rollup longer term. But I think this paradigm where, you know, kind of from first principles, from the ground up, we're building a chain that specifically is kind of optimized for this, I think opens up the door to other potential applications that might be a little bit difficult to do natively on Ethereum. So that's my view.
Yeah, and you want to respond to that, Dennis?
Yeah, maybe quickly. So yeah, what you just shared really resonates, and it reminds me of a quick discussion I had with Errol over at ListCon. Basically, when you look at these at the blockchain space right now, a lot of stuff is happening on Ethereum, right? So if you're a new project, then it would make sense to try and make sure that you're composable with the Ethereum ecosystem, so you can leverage the traction that's happening there. But then if you zoom out and consider like the size of this industry at this point in time, right, and the amount of like monthly active users, it's nothing still. We're still in that sense very early, and I think it makes sense for a project to really try to not feel limited by these design patterns that have been introduced in the Ethereum ecosystem. So yeah,
exactly. And I also, this is the reason why I don't know. Different people have different views on this, but I really don't feel ever this pressure from like I don't ever view anyone working in the space as like a competitor or like a bad guy. I mean, the reality is like there's the number of people in the world who know what zero knowledge cryptography is just such a sliver of a percent that, like, you know, it's such early days. And I think, you know, this technology, I think, portends something bigger than even Aleo, all of us, right? Like, this is a technology that fundamentally is gonna change the world. And I think this is an exciting time where lots of different people, lots of different teams are going to try to do things lots of different ways. And you know, it's a time of experimentation, and you know, it will get sorted out later of kind of like, you know, the design patterns that maybe are more useful or less useful. And, you know, just like in the early days of the internet, you know, people kind of didn't really know what a web app, like what should a web app look like, right? And it kind of took years for people to really figure that out. And I think the same will be true for zero knowledge.
So, Errol, did you want to chime in here?
I was going to add something, well, a different perspective, but if you want to go first, be my guest.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to add another perspective in terms of, like, if we look at Bitcoin, I love Bitcoin as a store of value, and I think that's the thing it's best at. But you have Bitcoin maximalists who want to put smart contracts on there, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. It just seems much more pragmatic to build a different design where programmability comes much more easily, and that was with Ethereum, and it's a similar thing with Aleo. We're not saying, don't. In the Ethereum case, you don't say don't use Bitcoin, just use Ethereum. They're for different purposes. So we have unlimited runtime application. Your computation can take as long as they want. And it's just inherently more suitable to the ZKP model. And if you also are concerned about privacy first for various things, it makes more sense to use somewhere where privacy is central and by default. So depending on what you're trying to achieve by doing something on a blockchain, you're going to move towards a different design. So it's similar to Alex, like we're not against Ethereum, we're not competing for anything. We're offering different things that for some organizations or people is going to make more sense.
I agree with the spirit of what you guys are saying, but I think that there is, like, when you blur your eyes, at least in the short term, when like this kind of stuff is more scarce, I think that there is going to be some level of competitive overlap of just like zero knowledge privacy stuff in general, right? Because someone's going to have an idea for an application, and they're like, okay, I now understand that what I need to make this application the way I need to do it is zero knowledge, and I probably need a blockchain. So then you look around there. Okay, do I want to build it on ETH and use a rollup? Do I want to build it on something else and use a rollup? Can I hack this into Zcash somehow? Can I do all these other like weird zero knowledge smart contracty things that are coming up? So I do think there is a certain amount of like competitive overlap that's going on there, even though, I think that the space is so big and like everyone's going to find their own niche. Dennis, to like the way I think about it, because you're like, you don't know how to come up with a thesis of like how we're going to do in kind of that more competitively minded world, is I think it all comes down to our proof of work system, right? So, Alex, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna make an aside to Errol that Sam is he's calling us naive kumbaya singers over here. Errol, we're not ready for the harsh Hobbesian world of competitive.
No, like
I'm hoping to learn.
You're not wrong. You're just not entirely like that. And I know that you don't think that it is entirely kumbaya, right? There is like two sides of this.
I mean, look, I just don't think, frankly, it's a productive framing. I think it really, okay. In fact, I actually criticize people who get too. I think it's the wrong framing to place yourself as an anti-something. Especially when you're building open source software, right? Like, just the reality is, like, literally anybody in this room right now could go to all of our repos on GitHub and copy everything and start their own project, right? And that's what an open source project is. And I think that when you rather than, and I think some people try and skirt around this and try and pretend that's not true. And obviously there's reasons why, look, you can't just fork everything, and there's, forks don't have the value. A lot of times they don't have the value of the original. But the reality is, like, look, I think this is a different mindset. Instead of zero sum, it's positive sum. And in this case, I really do believe that, maybe someday there'll be some sense of zero sumness. But I think for now, overwhelmingly, I view this industry, and specifically this niche within this industry, as just positive sum. And I don't see any reason to think otherwise.
I would agree with that. Right now, it is for sure positive sum. How should I phrase this then? Okay, so then the reason why I am like so into the Aleo model over everything else it does comes down to the proof of work system that we have, which is design a proof of work algorithm such that the work you need to do proof of work is equivalent to the work required to do zero knowledge proving and verification in general, which is actually it's fairly computationally intensive, especially at scale, right? And so when you look at all proof of work projects out there, and you really look at like what makes a winner in the proof of work space, it really is the person that gets first mover advantage on a particular algorithm, right? It's all about getting miner share and ASIC share of a particular set of hardware for a particular algorithm, right? There's a reason why nobody really wants to put out a chain right now that's like that uses SHA-256. Unless you're like using some kind of merge mining technique, you're just going to get 51'd by like the smallest possible Bitcoin miner out there, just as a lark, right? And that's why you see a lot of like the newer smarter proof of work layer ones. They're like all about using an algorithm that no one has used before, so that they know that they're going to be kind of the most secure chain. So I think that by choosing a proof of work algorithm that is like you could say isomorphic to the snark verification that is required to do this kind of magical zero knowledge stuff, we're like getting first mover advantage on this particular algorithm. But not only that, it's like there's this very tight marriage between the mining pool and the verification pool, and like proof of succinct work, which is like the interim algorithm we're using to get the proof of necessary work, isn't even that final vision. It's just kind of designed to kickstart the incentivization of development of hardware, essentially ASICs, that is extremely efficient at doing snark work, right? And so what I could see happening over like probably a relatively short timeline is just like the Aleo mining pool is just the most efficient computational engine on the planet to send snark work to be done in, simply because the economy of scale is just so massive. In much the same way that like if you wanted to get a SHA hash of a particular number of zeros in the front, where would you go to get that, right? There's only one place. You go to the Bitcoin mining pool. So yeah, that's kind of why I like the idea of like a layer one that is using a proof of work algorithm that has this really cool isomorphism to the work that it's all about.
I think if you're framing it like if you choose a frame of like, hey, what makes Aleo different? I think you touched on one of the most important differences, and I agree. It's also something that excited me about this. Side note, can we just call out like great use of the word isomorphic in a sentence? Like seriously, nailed it.
Nice. Yeah, I was proud of myself even as I was saying that. Yes, thank you.
I give that like 9.9 out of 10. What about you, Earl?
Yeah. So what do you think about that, Dennis?
Earl's still picking himself up off the floor.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just thinking from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I'll let Dennis respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much to say, to be honest. Like, I really appreciate all of the perspectives, and a lot of it resonates. Also, some takes I haven't really considered before, so that really helps. But yeah, I think overall I'm really excited about this project, and I actually want to run a node also. So I'm trying to figure out which hardware to run. But yeah, I'm really excited, and want to thank you guys for the perspectives.
Thanks.
Nice.
I will add more perspective if I'm allowed.
Yeah, go for it.
But it seems like you're looking down more from the inside out rather than the outside in. You're like looking at our tech and how it's different to others. But for most people, when they're looking at blockchain, they're not really looking at the hash power or anything. They're just talking about their own purpose and trying to find the one that suits their thing best. Like for many people, if they just want a store of value, they don't care about the hash. Well, many aspects of it, the technology. They just care about which one most people agree is the best thing for that. Just a bit of game theory. And for most people, that would be Bitcoin. Because maybe if you're in South America as well, that's what everybody knows, and it's the thing they're using there. So it makes most sense to use Bitcoin because they're looking from the outside in. And for other purposes, you're going to look to Ethereum. For other purposes, you're going to look to Aleo. I think this is some of the ways that we're different.
Right. Well, yeah, just to clarify, like I don't think this wasn't me saying that I think this is why people find this cool, right? Because I think that looking at it that way, like you only get that perspective if you've like spent a very long amount of time just really thinking deeply about proof of work, which hardly anyone is doing now, because we're kind of just, everyone seems to be operating under the assumption that like proof of work is going the way of the dodo bird. We're all moving on to all these other kind of wackier consensus schemes. Yeah, so like in fact, I only have met like one or two people outside of Aleo that like had the same take and thought it was cool for the same reasons as me. I'm positive that this is not the reason why we're getting the massive amounts of interest that we are. And I guess we haven't really come any closer to really answering the question of what the reason is.
I was just going to say, Sam, you and me are doing what we, I think, always do, which is like trying to answer the question we pose ourselves. And meanwhile, Nick is sitting here. He's like, Jesus, I've been waiting to tell you guys what's cool about this project for 20
yeah,
minutes.
that's right. Yeah, and Nick.
Hey, guys. Hey. Actually, you covered a lot of important topics for community, but I just wanted to share maybe my humble opinion. So for me, the most important thing here is that Aleo is actually a self-sufficient vertical integrated stack. That's for sure. And you're definitely not trying to compete or kill anyone like Ethereum or Bitcoin. So you're trying to create something great, which could be potentially useful for any other company in the world. And that makes you huge. I mean, this is something that you can potentially use as your unique selling proposition or something. So you don't need to, to fight with anyone. You're just trying to provide useful tools for existing. You can actually provide existing useful tools for existing ecosystems, because what we see now on the crypto industry is that a lot of blockchains, a lot of ecosystems, they're trying to fight with each other. They're trying to attract developers. They are launching new grant programs, billions of dollars they just spent to attract new developers, attract new users. And you're just here, you're just offering your services, you're just offering new opportunities for everyone in the world. And my main idea here is that the greatest use case just doesn't exist for zero knowledge at the moment. But when it will appear someday, you will be ready to support it. So that's my view here.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Nick, for sharing. And by the way, thanks for stepping up so frequently in the community and helping onboard new members and just, answering questions. Like I said, really doing a great job. So yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts there and for just being around and part of the community. That's
a pleasure, guys, because I really share your vision, and it seems that all great things, they just, they're coming. So we are patiently waiting for it.
Yeah, just to add to that, we do really appreciate the feedback. It can be difficult sometimes when you do these salons and stuff, and we have not much idea what people like about them or what they don't like or how we could make it better for them. And also as for Aleo as a project. So anybody coming up is always really, really appreciated.
We already discussed that. So in order to involve as much as many possible community members into these kind of calls, we do need to create a lot of educational materials, edutainment stuff, like poker based on Aleo, whatever. So we do need these kind of simple things just to increase adoption. And that's
Poker's the number one thing I want to get on incentivized testnet, man. The only question I have is what poker format is the most popular in Russia? Is it just Hold'em?
Yep, but any kind of
nice.
We don't have any specific, the most favorite format of poker, but it would be great to have any kind of poker basically.
Yeah. Okay,
no problem. Yeah.
Would you be interested in building a voting system?
In Russia? No.
Not in Russia, but a blockchain-based one using Leo on Aleo.
Oh yeah, of course. But here we have to think also about, actual use cases. Where can we use that in real life? For what purpose? And so it's still not clear what is the main reason to use this kind of solution for for voting.
Right, yeah. I mean, I asked because I made a decentralized version. There's something called MACI, Minimal Anti-Collusion Infrastructure. It was a recommendation, a blog post by Vitalik, where he said that it would be useful to have public infrastructure to conduct voting for DAOs or organizations or anybody who wants to do stuff on a blockchain. And you want to prevent bribery, you want to prevent the vote selling, collusion, resistance, all these kind of things. And they did it, but they did it using a trusted central party. And I tried to remove that to decentralize the process. And I designed something and then going to build it on Aleo. And yeah, I'm going to ask if people are interested, but just something I'm pointing out now.
Yeah, I mean, for procurement guys, that would be really interesting to have this kind of tool. I mean, transparency and everything. It would be really great to have it on board. And maybe integrated with some industry standard IT solution designed for these kind of procurement procedures. So for tendering.
You know what's interesting, Earl? I was just thinking about something the other day of I don't know. Are you familiar with like Valve, the company, and their kind of weird quote unquote flat hierarchy?
The game company.
Yeah.
I don't know the flat
Basically
hierarchy. I know of them.
Basically, how it works is like everyone votes on what everyone else's salary is, right? And so I was
what they think it is, or what they want it to be.
Well, basically, the people's salary is a function of some purely democratic process where everyone kind of evaluates like how valuable they think each person is, and then like there's some aggregation algorithm that then uses that and spits out what it is. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about there's like a little project I'm doing on the side, and we were trying to figure out like how to like basically fairly allocate equivalent, you can just call it salary for sake of ease. And I was thinking it would be cool if we had a scheme similar to that, but what you would want to do is you would want for that to happen in a black box, right? Because you wouldn't, that's one of those things where you wouldn't want to see. It's like, hey, you bastard, why do you think that we should fire me, or vice versa? Like that's something you would really want to keep private. So yeah, that was just something interesting I thought, where it's like kind of like a voting system, but it maybe a little bit more semantically intelligent with some of the things you could do with that. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think you could hack something more fun onto the existing scheme that you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, I think my scheme's already computationally on the edge. I was intending it for it to not be used too often. Like if you need to do it very quickly. Actually,
Right,
I guess that could
you.
work. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work.
Yeah, because things like this, I think, would be like you mentioned DAOs for just like a simple vote, right? Like that's obviously great because DAOs need like a good voting system. But I also think that that DAOs would also want voting systems with kind of more, smart voting systems. Let's say, like with some of the things that like with the scheme that I just mentioned, because that's kind of the same problem that they have, right? They have like it's a decentralized, quote unquote, flat structure, and you want the kind of the distribution of funds within the system to kind of be done in a democratic way. I think you would also want the same privacy guarantees, even in like a decentralized system, as you would in like a place where you have to see the people's faces every day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there's still a long way to go for a lot of this public infrastructure that we're putting on there. Like a lot of the voting systems out there are based on kind of how many coins you have. And then it's just outweighted by whales who want to do something, and normal people can't contribute that much. But the system I'm trying to make is one person, one vote, and then you'll use a verifiable credential to help ensure that people can't make fake accounts. So for example, if you make a Binance account or a Coinbase or something like that, and they have to do KYC, know your customer, where they check your passport and that you are who you say you are, then it's going to be possible to make a blockchain-based credential of that. And if the organization who you want to vote for, if they say, we trust Binance and how they do their KYC, then you can use your credential from them, that they checked who you are and that you're a valid person, and you can be added to the voting list. So there's still expansion in terms of tools to get more useful functionality.
Right.
But
Well,
it's
I
going to
mean,
take time.
on the back end, that credential system, it sounds like almost exactly what the Spruce guys are working with us on for that Zargus project. I don't know how much you've been following in the past couple of weeks.
Haven't been looking at it too much, but from what I understand, they're working on verifiable credentials, and they were using, I think, or they said they haven't decided exactly what to use, whether it's a Merkle tree or something, but it's the same idea. You can get a universal dynamic accumulator, so that you can prove either that you're on a whitelist or that you're not on a blacklist, and then you can update these lists and you can update your witnesses and your proof. So yeah, we're moving in that direction, but it takes a bit of time to build.
I never thought. I completely forgot about this. Like there's no need to do. Like if you use sparse Merkle trees, then you can do non-inclusion proofs. Right, I forgot about that.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't looked at the Merkle trees as much because I was looking at papers done by Jan Kamenisch. I think he's the CTO of Internet Computer now, and he's done a lot of work in the verifiable credential space. And they use a different kind of accumulator, where it's just a group element, field element, and it's kind of quicker, designed more specifically for that stuff.
Is it, what is it, like an RSA accumulator?
Not quite.
I'd be curious to know like what that is if you send that to me.
Yeah, you're kind of multiplying all elements in the whitelist. So let's say it will do Errol plus alpha multiplied by the accumulator, and then Sam plus alpha multiplied by the accumulator. So the only person who can update the accumulator is the person who knows alpha, and this is going to be the organization. And then they can output some other group elements or functions that we can use to update our witnesses as new people are added to the whitelist.
That's cool. I'd appreciate you sending me whatever that is. It sounds similar to an RSA accumulator, but not exactly the same.
I will send it your way.
Perfect. El Turco, what's up, man? I don't know how much of this conversation, but basically we were like trying to figure out like we've been realizing just how we're getting an unusual amount of attention for how small of a project we are in terms of like what we've actually put out there yet, and we were just trying to figure out like from community members like why exactly that is, like what attracted them so much to Aleo. Why are we getting your attention versus other projects? Yeah, got anything on that? Got anything at all? Do you have a microphone?
Maybe while we wait for that, I think there were some typed questions. Oh, he said we need to unmute him for them. I don't think so, but let me see.
He is red on the side here.
Oh.
I don't think we have you muted, dude.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
That's weird. Try bouncing and then coming back in. If that does anything.
You know, guys, maybe I can step in here. Sorry, Errol. You wanted to add something?
No, you go. I was saying I just put the paper in the Q&A chat for Sam and anybody who wants to look.
Okay, so maybe just one more thing here about Aleo is that many people on the market, they consider this zero knowledge topic, especially Aleo, as a Pandora box. So it is not like simple as NFT or some kind of Dogecoin. It has something inside, some mystery inside, you know? And this is something attractive for people. Maybe that's also contributes to your attention somehow.
Right. Yeah, El Turco, I don't, it says...
Yeah, I don't know why he's
server muted. What does that mean? God, we're professionals here.
Yeah, I don't know, because when I right click and now I just muted him now I just unmuted him, but it still shows it as red. Okay, I'll try to troubleshoot that, but
El Turco, I think I think you might have the server muted. I'm just Googling here. Silence.
Yeah, we need someone like Jules to come and sort this out for us. But he's busy with the setup
Altergo,
ceremony.
while we try to figure this out, you gotta, did you like type your question in the chat there? Federico asked if there is a calendar with all the dates of the SnarkOS and Leo engineering stand-ups. Those should be on the calendar, right, Anthony? I think.
Sorry, say this again.
Someone asked if there's a calendar for the dates for the SnarkOS and Leo stand-ups.
Yeah, there is. I'm looking for that question. Wait, where are you seeing that?
That might have been last time actually. Yeah, my bad. That was in the last one. I'm not using the index.
But yeah, if you want to find, if anybody wants to find, here, I'll type it. It's basically aleo.org/community/calendar. That's where you can find information. Yeah, somebody asked if I was sick. I did get tested for COVID and it came back negative, so I will be able to travel back to Europe. I was kind of worried about that, so I think I just have a cold. So thank you for asking. But somebody earlier did ask. They said, "What impact do you think your project will have on the world of cryptocurrencies? Will he change it, or I guess will it change it?" Yeah, it was a little while back. I mean, we kind of talked about it, but I don't know if there's any other points people wanted to add.
I think I would add a bit more in this direction. I think we had Bitcoin was the first coin, and then Ethereum added programmability, and then we started moving the privacy direction, and Zero Cash were the first privacy coin, kind of like Bitcoin without the privacy. Sorry, with the privacy. But then it wasn't programmable. They had coins, UTXO model, but you can't do many things on there. And then they came along with the ZKP model, Howard and Pratyush and Sean Bow and a few other people, and we're opening up programmability and with privacy built in fundamentally. And that is a very useful tool for building various applications. Adding the possibility of having those attributes in the things you want to make is going to make more things possible. I'm sorry, I've got to open the door.
Yeah, I think I kind of already gave, like Alex and I both kind of gave our spiel on like why we think we are like special within the blockchain ecosystem as a whole. So yeah, if you missed that, I think just maybe like listen to the video that comes out after this and scroll back through all of that. But I think we basically covered the whole thing there. I'm sorry, Alterco. I've been Googling like a fiend on the back end, and I can't figure out what's going on here. You're definitely not muted on any of the setting screens that I've been able to see here. We'll have to try to figure that out. I wonder if maybe you've been naughty on other servers, and it's carrying over here. I'm not sure.
Can I also say about people using snarks? Not everyone using a snark has privacy. You can get the scalability from it easily, but if you want to update the state of your blockchain, you need to have a mechanism for that. And some people use snarks instead of transactions, but they don't get the privacy because otherwise they can't update their state. They can't prevent a double spend. And we not only provide that privacy where you can hide the data, but we also provide functional privacy. With a snark, you can prove that, for example, you know the solution to a Sudoku puzzle, but we'll still know that it's a Sudoku puzzle that you have an answer to. It's not a crossword or anything else. It is a Sudoku puzzle. But by using a one-layer recursion in the ZKP model, we make the function private as well. So we don't just use snarks, we use them in a very elegant way to provide more properties than they inherently have. Okay, I'm done with the snark discussion.
Right. There's only one thing I can think of, Alterco, and that is there's only one person on here I think that has like higher authority over anyone on stage, and that's Howard. So he might have accidentally muted you on the last call. Maybe when he went to invite you up, I'm not sure. But maybe that is like the last case that I can think of here.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can log in with another account and unmute him. But if you want to type your question or comment, go ahead. But yeah, we'll definitely figure it out. Somebody
In the
asked, what
meantime,
about? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, in the meantime, if we're waiting for El Turco's mic to be fixed, I have another question that I'm eager to share with you guys. But if there's also some in the chat, so maybe we can look at those first.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so some people, yeah, let's maybe just answer this question about the ambassadors program, and then Dennis, if you want to ask some, I think that would be good. So somebody said, what about ambassadors program? You start choosing ambassadors. Okay, so here's the short answer. The ambassadors program will launch when the incentivized testnet launches. And right now, I'm actually working with a few of our community members who are more active and who have actually provided some proposals for how to potentially do an ambassadors program from their experience with programs in other communities. And so we actually have a call tomorrow. Sam and Errol, I added you to that, by the way. But basically, yeah. So basically, November 15th it'll be launched. What I said on the community call still holds. Anybody can be an ambassador. So technically, everybody here is an ambassador of our project, right? Like, obviously, all part of this extended community, and we'd love for you to, yeah, share our project with people and do all that sort of thing and help create content and what have you. The thing is, there will be different levels of ambassadors. So if you're somebody that wants higher recognition in the community, maybe wants some additional rewards, something like that, it'll all be based on what you contributed as an ambassador, right? Because if there's 1,000 ambassadors, right, obviously not all 1,000 of those people are going to be putting in the same amount of work or effort. And so we will be recognizing individuals for what they contribute. And all the details around how that's going to work will be released. Maybe we'll release it maybe like a week before it officially launches on the 15th, just so people have a general idea. But we're currently working through the details of it. We want to try to make it unique from other programs and also avoid some of the pitfalls that other ambassador programs have faced. But yeah, short answer is if you want to work on something, we're happy to have you do that. And as long as you do quality work and we have a committee of people that agrees that what you produced was worthwhile, then that will benefit you. So that's the general idea on that. Let's see if there were any follow-ups for that with that. We're trying to keep one language on Discord. Oh, okay. So the language channels. I'm just going to flat out say it. I personally despise Discord channels that have all these different language channels in them. For one reason, and not because I don't want to communicate with people from other communities. We obviously want to do that. It's just when I go to a Discord channel and I see like 50 channels, I always get overwhelmed. And I think it's just like chaotic and very disorganized. I feel like that's what happens when you create these language channels in Discord. Plus, unless we have somebody from our side sort of like moderating those channels and actively replying in the language, it's definitely not going to be as effective. What I would rather do, and what I think we're going to aim for as a first step with the ambassadors program, is to basically work directly with leaders of these other language specific communities, i.e., some of the people on stage, for example, like Nick and El Turco, right? They're involved in other language communities, working directly with them through their independent channels, namely like Telegram, where they already have a community of people where they understand the culture and like the language and like how people operate in that jurisdiction, basically cross communicate information that way. So yeah, I personally think that that's better. I mean, maybe we'll come up with something slightly different when we have these discussions about structuring the ambassadors program, but that's the general idea as of right now. But we just want to make sure we get it right. So yeah, that's the approach.
I think it's also a function of size of the community. One of the main reasons why we kind of like why Anthony and I went with, like, we put a lot of work into like just designing like what the channels for all of these things are, and like the main thing we wanted to do is keep it as few channels as possible, because especially when you have a very small number of community members at the very start, which I think we're still very clearly in that category, you don't want to split everyone up, because you're like that, like you know, it diffuses all of the energy if like you're if everyone's kind of in their own little thing and there's not really like cross pollination, especially if they're separated by language, because then, you know, they're really not really communicating with one another. Whereas if you only have like one kind of official general channel, let's just say, it concentrates the community energy way more. And so, like, you know, if our Discord reaches 100,000 users, and it gets to a certain point where, you know, it's actually a bad thing that we're focusing everything into this, then for sure we will start splitting out channels as we think it makes the most sense to do so. But for the time being, there is like an absolutely phenomenal Russian Telegram being run entirely by community members. It's not official, and they do a great job of translating basically things from this to that for the Russian folks out there that don't speak English.
Yeah. Basically, it's all about, I think it's all about consistency. So everything that you will ever see in this Discord channel will be in English, and anything that's ever posted in here is going to be directly coming from the core team that's sort of actively like building out Aleo. Any dispersion of that information, we're fine with translating and communicating in different mediums. What I mean by that is, for example, some different language communities in Europe, they like to use Telegram. Okay, that's fine. We can continue with that. There's some communities in Asia, right, that use like WeChat, for example, right? They don't use Telegram because either they don't have access to it in the specific country they're in, or it's just culturally they use different communication applications. So however the information can be best dispersed to those communities, we're going to leave that up to the people that actually live there, that actually understand the culture. If you ask me, like, hey, Anthony, what's the best way to like communicate with our Chinese colleagues, I would have no idea. I've never been to China. I don't speak Mandarin. You get where I'm going here? So that's the general reason why we don't want to have the channels in Discord specifically to communicate the information, but for sure being able to communicate it in a variety of different ways so that we're accommodating for everybody and the best way that they understand working grass material. So anyway, okay. Yeah, and then some people, I know some of you are chiming in, Russian community is very large, obviously, that's true. If you can help, so when we launch the Ambassadors Program, if you want to get more involved, we're happy to do it. But just remember, if you want to be more active and sort of be in this core group, I guess, of ambassadors or leading ambassadors, then as long as you work on some interesting initiative and put in the work, we can definitely do that. Okay. Dennis, do you want to go?
Yes, I have one more question before I need to drop off. So I have actually been thinking of ways. So some context. I'm currently working for MakerDAO, and I have been thinking of use cases where something like a zero knowledge based platform would be really interesting. One of them would be negotiations within the DAO, right? I'm not only talking about things like salaries for core contributors, but also when the growth team or like the real world assets team is negotiating a deal, especially when it happens completely remote, right? And there's no way to let's say meet each other in person and then afterwards go out for dinner, and this whole dynamic that's usually part of a negotiation. I think right now we lack the infrastructure to do that effectively remote, and that's where I see a role for zero knowledge based infrastructure. I guess the follow-up question is, what is your take on interoperability, or let's say composability of Aleo, what you guys are building, and for example other layer one chains and the ecosystems on there? Because I think there will be a lot of opportunity for such infrastructure to be used by projects that have their main stack built on another layer one.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I personally believe in the whole vision of the blockchain, like cryptocurrency industry scaling horizontally such that you'll have application specific blockchains. I mean, since I got into the space back in 2016, right, and was first introduced to Cosmos, for example, right, they were really big in Berkeley. I was a student there. Actually, if you look at a lot of the projects built on the Cosmos ecosystem, they're actually like all Berkeley people. Like Sonny went to Berkeley, Jack Zampolin, he didn't go to Berkeley, but they had like people were basically in that Berkeley ecosystem. Jack, Jim Yang, Zaki hung out in Berkeley a lot. So yeah, that's I guess the first point. And then in terms of like Aleo fitting into that narrative, like yes, obviously we're building a layer one like we've been talking about, but at the same time, I do think that a lot of the privacy preserving primitives that we have to offer can be used alongside other layer ones. And I think if we're going to buy into this vision of an interoperable ecosystem with these application specific blockchains, and being able to again allow people to leverage those primitives that we built within Aleo across these different blockchains is going to be really important, I think. And we're actually working on one practical example of that right now I'm trying to think how much I can reveal about this. I think I can say because I'm going to be speaking about it in like a week, basically. But so we're working with Salon right now on a project. Maybe I won't go into the specific details, but it's revolved around this kind of concept, right? So maybe high level, the most I can say is like think about like a ZKP light client, for example, right? That's something that I think fits alongside sort of this narrative. So yeah. Also, by the way, I will be speaking about on November 8th at LizCon. I'll be debating pretty high profile people, so I think I need to study because I think I'm debating Anatoly Yakovenko, the CEO and founder of Solana, and then Greg Osuri, I think his name is. I think the CEO and co-founder of Kosh Network, and then also another individual who's like VP of research at the Block. So if any of you are going to be there, come watch. Maybe there'll be something interesting. But I don't know if Sam or Errol, you have anything else to add.
All I'll say, Dennis, is there is a few very low-level architecture decisions that were made long ago by Howard. Things like having to do with how our accumulation scheme works, that were set there with the intention of basically being able to be kind of like a soft roll up. You think of it like a layer 1.5, maybe. I don't know what you want, but basically having ways of being able to natively verify other blockchains with our blockchain to make things along the lines of atomic swap super easy. So yeah, interop is definitely dead center in insights for what we're looking at for sure.
Errol, any other comments? Or not? I see you unmuted yourself.
Can't hear you, Errol. This is why you need to get a good microphone, Errol.
Yeah. Hey guys, I have to run. So thanks again for all the perspectives. This was really helpful to me personally. And once again, super excited. So good luck. And we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks so much. Have a good one, Dennis.
Hey, Dennis.
Also, somebody posted in calls Q&A. They said it would be great to have some swag and sweeties like Aleo shirts and other merch. Would be proud to wear it. Absolutely. I would love to have that. I think we've only created a t-shirt for like the core team, and that was about it. So what I commented in there was, and this is for anybody, I guess when we launch the ambassadors program, right, you want to create some sort of content or something or help. If you want to design something and we pick the winning and we pick your design as maybe one that we want to use, we can definitely reward you for that via the program. So if you have any ideas, go ahead and start. I mean, if you want to start putting something together now and sending it over to me, feel free. Even though we don't have the program running, like, sure we could work something out. But that would be sweet.
What about, okay, get this. What about boxers where it says zero
Oh,
knowledge
God.
over the butt cheeks?
That sounds
Oh, my
terrifying.
I want it.
Dude. Yeah, well,
I'm just
I was
spitballing
gonna
here,
say
guys. I
something.
mean,
No,
let me know in the
okay,
chat if
somebody
y'all want
can-
these boxers.
Actually, if somebody can create a hat with, like, I don't know if you've ever seen those hats where they have like a really tiny logo on it. I've always found them really cool. I don't know. Maybe like a black hat with like the Aleo logo, like tiny.
Yeah,
in the
that's
center.
what I
That's
want,
pretty
dude.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that would be cool. Like not a big logo, like a small one. I don't know how to describe it. Like I've seen it before with other logos and stuff.
Oh, we got G God Me BXU wants the zero knowledge butt cheek boxers. There we go.
Oh God.
It's settled.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any last minute questions or anything? We're almost at top of the hour here.
I don't have a question, but a mini announcement. Unless someone else wants to ask a question. But for the Turkish community, I will be going to Istanbul next Tuesday, and then I'll be asking people maybe next weekend if they want to meet for a drink and chat about anything Aleo related or just generally. It's just a quick heads up.
Wait, how long are you going to be staying there?
Around 10 days, and then I'm going to go and see one of our compiler engineers in Moscow for a few days.
Demir?
Yeah, going to go see Demir. Do you want to come to Turkey?
Yeah, I really want to get to Turkey, but I'm going to be in Portugal during that time. Then I gotta go somewhere else.
Well, Turco
That's
says he's
someday.
gonna find you some
Someday.
friends.
Someday.
It's good because I have
really
none.
like. I'm a bit. Yeah. Well, Errol, you and I are definitely. We already talked about it. We'll definitely get there and do something. I'm a big history buff, so it's been my desire to see Hagia Sophia for a really long time. Like, I really.
Man, I
want to
can
see
tell
it.
you all
Anyway,
about
now we're getting-
Ataturk and some of the history of Turkey, so that would be great.
Yeah, I'm kind of like low-key obsessed with it. Yeah, it's a very interesting region of the world. Anyway, okay, we're getting off topic here, but yeah, cool. I guess maybe one other announcement I was going to say is and Sam, we need to get on this, which I messaged you about yesterday. Is the next Zero Knowledge Salon is going to be more structured. We're going to try it, spice it up a little bit, make it a bit different instead of just a free-form discussion. Maybe focus in on a particular topic that some of you have submitted. I think we had like 23 people.
And also
that
try to
topics.
make sure. Well, not try. We need to get the proper guys from the team that are going to be the best to answer these questions.
Yeah.
Based on what they are. That's the key thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We have.
Great idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have some really amazing cryptographers and researchers at this company. The problem is that they're just so busy with other things, and like, although for all of us, these discussions are amazing. For them, it's kind of like, yeah, they kind of already know a lot of this. So to at least keep them engaged and get as much value out of having a conversation with them, they kind of ask that we have like a more defined topic where they can really dive into the weeds. So I think, yes, Sam, hopefully maybe you can maybe put some together for next week. But I think, yeah, that would be cool. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And we'll try to advertise it earlier as well, so we can kind of hype it up and maybe get some other folks involved. And then I think one other thing we're going to do too is I know at least for the Spruce ID team that we're working with on this identity project, once they're done with that, I think we actually want to have them come speak on this platform and maybe demo the project or walk through the example.
Oh yeah,
and
that
go
would be
more in
sick.
depth. Yeah, so I think that's something else we're going to do. There's a lot of really cool things in the pipeline. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects right now ongoing, and we're like looking at other ones. So yeah, just wanted to point that out as well. But anyway, I know we're over time, so yeah, thank you all for joining. Really looking forward to seeing you at one of these next calls, and yeah, hope everybody has a good day. And Sam, don't forget to end the recording before you end this call, because then we will lose it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Good luck in Portugal, Anthony.
Oh yeah,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you. Yeah, I'm gonna need to practice without debate for sure. We'll see.
And
Either it'll be a catastrophic failure or interesting. Yeah. We'll
All right,
All right.
ciao.